Hello YouTube, this is Ghost Rider from the home QTH here, and W6LH, I think Jim on the internet there on YouTube, been posting several videos about soldering, which are very good, and I thought I would just kind of run through what I've got here. I'm not a very good, well, I started out not being so good at soldering, and a lot of that had to do with just practice and not having the right tools. And boy, what a difference the right tools make to actually, doing this right. And I thought I'd just go through a few of the items here that have really been helpful to me, and maybe it'll be helpful to some of you if you have to do some soldering for your radio station, putting together some coax, soldering some wires together, maybe for some dipole antennas or for what have you. So let's just start from the bottom to the top here. This little blue mat is like a plastic rubbery type substance. It's high temperature resistant. It's made for soldering and doing electronic work. It just kind of keeps everything off of your desk or wherever you're working. So that's pretty good. You touch the soldering iron to that, it won't melt it. It's got little places here to hold pieces and parts if you're doing some circuit work or something like that. So that's a pretty good thing to have. Second thing is, this is a cleaning medium for the soldering iron tip. It's got some copper turnings in here, kind of like steel wool, but it's not steel wool, it's copper, and this is going to be softer than your soldering iron tip, and therefore it won't damage it, but it will clean it very well. The next thing that's really a big help to soldering is using a flux. You can solder without flux, but boy, it sure helps to use a paste flux or a liquid flux to help you really get the solder to flow. So this is just some standard water-soluble paste flux that I had on hand. It works pretty good, and it really helps the soldering go better if you go ahead and put some flux on the work pieces. Now let's talk about soldering wire. This is some Burns-O-Matic electrical solder, lead-free, that you can just pick up at Lowe's or another hardware store. It's pretty readily available. The diameter of this, I believe, is 1.8 millimeter. So it's not extremely thick. It's not as thick as, say, what you would find in a plumbing type soldering application, but it's thick enough so that it can be a problem if you're trying to get in there and solder something up fast without applying too much heat to the workpiece. And again, this is lead free. It works, but it doesn't really work the best. I'm going to put that over to the side. Here we have the real deal. This is lead solder, and it's very thin. This is 0.8 millimeter. 0.8 millimeter, very thin, easy to work with, and it's a lead-based solder. And boy, does this stuff work good. This is really what you want and what you would need if you're going to do work on electronics. So I'd highly recommend that. I picked this up at the Huntsville Hamfest. I think it was about $25, but it's a lot of solder here. Nice thing about this stuff is you can break off a piece of it and just curl it up, and it's real easy to hold in your hand and work with it on the workpiece without having to hold the whole roll. So it's very pliable, thin, and easy to work with. Okay, the next thing we've got here is this item. Can't really get it all in the focus of the camera, but this is a little helping hand station. Basically, it's just got a couple of alligator clips on a adjustable bar. So if you're trying to solder, you're sitting here holding the soldering iron and the solder. It's really hard to hold onto the other pieces you're trying to work on without being a contortion artist. So this allows you to, you know, clip the other pieces in and hold them and solder them up. It also has with it this magnifying glass that's LED illuminated. That can be handy if you really need to get in there and see what you're doing. I really don't use it that much. It really kind of gets in the way most of the time, but it is there if you need to get inside there and see what you're doing. I think that's maybe $10–15 for that, and it's got a nice heavy base to it that keeps it from, you know, turning over, getting pulled to the side. Now the next couple items are really the key, and that's to have a good soldering iron. Now this may surprise you. This is a micro model number TS100 USB capable soldering pin, and this is one amazing little unit right here. This really has made all the difference to me in being able to do some decent soldering. Those Weller pins that you buy at Lowe's or Home Depot don't hold a candle to this thing right here, and it heats all the way up to 400 degrees centigrade, and it's adjustable. It's got a little digital display. We'll show that in a second. It comes with a little USB adapter. You can plug this into your computer and actually solder with that. It takes a little bit longer for it to warm up with that particular setup. So what I did is just robbed an old power supply off of a, I don't know, some electronic device, 12-volt power supply, AC DC power supply, and just use that to run the soldering iron, and it heats up in about, I don't know, 20 seconds or so, and you're ready to go. So that's what we got here. Pause the video right now. I'm actually going to hook the soldering pin up, and I'll show you how it works and what it looks like. Okay, we're back, and I'm going to connect the soldering pin up here, soldering iron. This is, again, the micro TS100, and I've got the power source plugged into the wall. I'm going to go ahead and plug that in, and you can see on the screen here what it's coming up with. Powering up, telling me to press this front button here, and it's warming up. I usually run this pin at 310 centigrade, which I think is about 580 or 90 degrees Fahrenheit, to do my soldering, and it works just fine. Like I said, it goes all the way up to 400 centigrade, and there's a lot of options there. It's all digitally controlled. I think it's even programmable via the USB cable that comes with it. So we're almost there. We're at 270 degrees centigrade right now. It defaults to 300, but I went ahead and reprogrammed it to 310. So there you go. It's ready to go. I always keep a little bit of solder on the tip. You can see it's turned liquid there already, and again it's ready to go at this point. So I would just take it and put it in the cleaning medium here, and it gets my tip nice and ready to go. And I'll just hit it with a quick bit of solder so you can see how easily it flows onto the tip. Hopefully you can see this on the video. But I mean, yeah, it works as good as a bigger soldering iron to me, and it really gets in the spots where it's hard maybe to reach with the bigger units. Maybe this will help you guys out there to do your soldering a little bit easier and a little bit better. 73.